It should result in salespeople having to do less manual work to enter data from their calls into the CRM. And I love salespeople. I work very closely with them. Our sales team is great. They do a great job of putting stuff in the CRM. Don't come for me, please. But in general, I would say salespeople don't like putting data into the CRM if they don't have to. And the result of that over time, over years and years of compounding behaviors and lack of a process around it, that can cause an enormous mess. And from a marketer who is trying to use that data to segment, it becomes very difficult. And when you're doing personalization, that's a complete nightmare. So the vision of this that I think you're describing is that a salesperson gets off of a sales call and the CDP intelligently pulls that data out of the call transcript or from the conversation and says, okay, this information goes in this field. It has that context.
It's taking this unstructured data of the conversation and essentially enabling you to act on it in a structured way. Take, for example, let's say as a sales leader, you want to look through your deals and you're requiring all your salespeople to put in next steps. You know, it's a field that needs to constantly be updated. What are the next steps? What are the next steps? What are the next steps? I'm only saying this hint, wink, wink, we do this. And it requires the salesperson to say, hey, I got a conversation coming up on this date and we're waiting for a decision by XYZ. Great. You know, I don't need to go through all the notes. I don't need to see every conversation. I don't even need to ask AI because that's all I needed. I just need to know where it was. It's not always done. Or forgot to get updated or something else. It then requires me to crawl through the deal and start figuring out, well, what are the next steps? And so this is unstructured data that will come from a phone call. And granted, there's so many of these call recording apps who will bring that data in and put it as a note in your system. Now, some of them are taking it one step further and they're populating fields for you. So this somewhat already exists. Now, what HubSpot is really doing with this tool is kind of pulling it all together into one. Where not only is it extracting the information you need, but putting it into the proper fields for you in an unstructured way, or essentially taking this unstructured data. Now, I think it's going to go way further than that. I'm probably simplifying how it's going to actually end up being utilized. But it's not just for marketing, it's for leaders who need to know what's going on and need to get certain information at a certain time. And because what's going to enable companies to do is really analyze your customer data. But with enhanced conversational intelligence that we just talked about, you're going to be able to understand insights about customer sentiment, friction, unmet needs. So as a marketer, you're like, hey, I'm adding them to this campaign about why they need to use workflows because we're like, we don't use workflows. It's like, well, great timing. I'm adding you a campaign about how you should use workflows in HubSpot. That's going to provide air cover for the sales team. Or maybe a client says, hey, listen, not now, but later, follow up in like 3 months. Well, great. You can automatically set up a campaign or at least a segment or a list and say, this is a client who wants follow-up in this amount of time and automatically pull that information out. So I think what you're going to see, especially with this Frame AI acquisition, is HubSpot's push towards an AI-driven smart CRM / CDP. And this is where it's like all kind of coming together because HubSpot is beginning to unify all the data from all these different sources and you're able to put it in one place. And so it's going to really make the CRM more proactive than just being a reactive, like looking through your rearview mirror versus through your front windshield.
That sounds incredible. I'm excited to hear what else HubSpot has up its sleeve.
Like HubSpot is kind of cooking something up here that they don't just want to stay on par with the rest of the market. They want to leap it. And I think we're going to see that coming out here sometime this year.
The story of HubSpot has been they're going to match the functionality, but make it much easier to use. So I would not be surprised if that happens with a CDP product as well.
I love the way you just said that, and I hope you don't mind. I plan to steal that when I talk to some clients.